Anybody remember that ridiculous gimmick that Vince McMahon gave LA Knight called Max Dupree? Yeah, well, they actually butted heads, and LA Knight recently opened up on this in a recent interview with Chris Van Vliet. We're going to touch on that. We're also going to touch upon an injured WWE star, or what we think is an injured WWE star. And we're going to get into that. So let's start with the injured WWE star right out of the gate, right? Because there's going to be a Raw star that will be out of action for a while, because it was announced on Monday Night Raw by Michael Cole that Imperium's Giovanni Vinci will be out of action for a number of weeks after he suffered an injury on a recent episode of Monday Night Raw. Now, Vinci was in a match with Kofi Kingston in early January on Raw that was stopped by the referee and the doctor at ringside because Vinci took a dropkick from Kingston and landed badly in the ring. But it wasn't made clear at the time, nor now, the nature of the injury that he suffered. Now, it looks like it was some type of neck head injury, considering he landed on the back of his head. This week on Raw, Kingston and Ludwig Kaiser worked a match where they went to a double countout, and Kaiser showed a more vicious side of him and stuff like that. I don't know where this is going. Now, keep in mind, Gunther, current IC champion, he had to take time off because of the birth of his baby. There's no word yet on when Vinci is expected to be back in action, but let's at least hope it's soon. So, the reason you probably clicked on this video, LA Knight did an interview with Chris Van Vliet where he discussed how he and Vince McMahon, they were butting heads over the Max Dupree character. Now, keep in mind that the Max Dupree character absolutely sucked. It sucked. He thought it sucked. The company thought it sucked. The fans thought it sucked. Everyone thought it sucked. It should have been a prostitute at that point. And so what happened was, when Vince McMahon essentially got out of power, Triple H reignited the LA Knight character, a gimmick in which LA Knight did in NXT before being called up to the main roster and repackaged. So, this is what he had to say. Well, the problem is, when you look around the wrestling landscape, and I even think to my past, I'm like, man, I had so much freedom to kind of be me and do my thing, and I'm doing whatever. This stupid model thing. I don't know who this is or what it is, but all right, I got a nice raise out of it, so at least I'll try to make things work. And so I'm sitting there and I'm trying to do it and praise Mace and Mansoor, because I even heard them kind of sharing stories about how Vince McMahon was just it was just weird, because I was told not to talk like I did nothing. Don't say any of the things you said. Don't talk the way you did. And I'm like, okay, what brought me to the dance is completely getting stripped of me, but all right. At the same time, I kind of look at it as a challenge. I'm frustrated by it, but I'm also okay. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And in short, it was like, and then he and I kind of felt like we were butting heads, but it was just like he had a vision for this thing that he puts such a microscope on it. And I didn't know what the heck it was, but I was trying to figure it out, and it wasn't going well. And I was very unhappy. And I'm sure he probably was then at some point. It was just like all of a sudden I'm not on TV.